In today's video, we're taking a look at some NHL trade rumors focusing on teams like the Edmonton Oilers, Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, and others. We're also looking at some free agent rumors around Dougie Hamilton. We have some more NHL award nominations, some prospect signings, and more. We'll get into all the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a variety of news to talk about here today. First up, we have a few quick items, including some more NHL award nominations. We get the nominations today for the Norris Trophy. Not a huge surprise here, but a couple of youngsters involved, which are getting lots of attention from around the league, including Adam Fox of the Rangers, Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche, and of course we have veteran Victor Hedman of the Tampa Bay Lightning are our three finalists for the top defenseman of the season. Of course, Tyson Barrie, who was the leading scorer amongst the D crowd, was not into the conversation here. Several other good candidates, too, that are kind of in the running, but obviously didn't make the final cut there. I'm not really sure who's going to win. It's hard to say, but nice to see some young blood in there like Fox and Makar getting the attention they so well deserve. We also have word today that the Minnesota Wild have hired Ray Shero, a longtime NHL executive, assistant GM. GM's held many hats through the NHLs throughout the years. Of course, he started off as an assistant GM for a couple of teams, including Ottawa and Nashville, was a GM for the Penguins as well as the Devils. And now he joins the Minnesota Wild as a senior advisor to general manager Bill Guerin. Now, of course, these two guys know each other quite well, especially from their days with the Penguins organization. Of course, Guerin was a longtime assistant general manager. Shero worked there as well. Of course, Guerin even played there for a while too. So, well-acquainted guys. So, obviously, Shero's been around the league a long time. Of course, obviously has a family history of being in the game as well. So certainly a great addition to the Minnesota Wild staff and a great resource for Bill Guerin to have at his fingertips here to make a lot of decisions on player personnel, especially moving forward. Now, we also have word as well around the U.S. TV networks, ESPN and TNT, who continue to make some moves here, hiring some personnel to be a part of their broadcast for the fall. Looks as though TNT is bringing in Anson Carter, who was currently working for NBC. On the ESPN side, it looks as though they're hiring Ryan Callahan as well as Kevin Weeks. Now, Kevin Weeks will apparently still be able to work with NHL Network under this contract. I don't know the exact terms or anything, of course. But certainly, a couple of big additions there and guys that are already in the business. Be interested to see who else these networks add to their lineup ahead of the fall season. Now, as I mentioned, we have some prospect signings today, including the Chicago Blackhawks announcing they've signed 2020 first-round pick Lukas Reichel. Reichel had a pretty solid season playing over in Germany. His team there in the DEL ended up winning the league championship, so he gets his 3-year ELC on the books here with the Blackhawks. Likely makes the jump to North America to see where the next steps are for his NHL career. Hard to say what his shots are of making the team, or likely spend some time in the AHLs. The more likely scenario, I think, that plays out there for at least for a little while. Columbus Blue Jackets have signed a Finnish defenseman as well, Samuel Nazko, who was a third-round pick in the 2020 NHL draft. Put up 15 points in 23 games playing over in Finland this past season as well. And we also had an extension for Philadelphia Flyers young goaltender Felix Sandstrom, who gets another 1-year contract. Of course, he was originally drafted by the Flyers back in 2015, but has opted to play a few seasons over in Europe and did do it to a variety of factors over the past couple of years being in North America. It's only actually got a chance to play in 13 American Hockey League games. So he's a goaltender who still has a lot of potential. Somebody they still want to keep around and see what he can develop into. Obviously, he's 23 years old now, so we'll see how things go for him. This could be a make or break season for Sandstrom and the Flyers organization, but at least he gets one more shot here and hopefully can get some more regular playing time with the organization at some level. We're hopefully most likely the American Hockey League. Now, before we jump into the rest of this video, I just want to take a quick moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers where you can get 20% off and free shipping on all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. So thanks very much for watching that promotional video from Manscaped. I certainly appreciate you taking the time, appreciate their support as well. Now getting back into today's content, we have some free agent and trade talk rumors I want to take a look at here as well. Now first up, I want to start with the Carolina Hurricanes. I know it's fresh here. They were just eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs by the defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning. There's already a lot of talk and speculation about what changes that team could be facing this offseason. Of course, the big one is head coach Rod Brind'Amour. I mean, many feel like he has a verbal agreement in place, and there was a word that he wanted the remainder of the staff to be looked after before he would make things official, and that very well could still be the case. We haven't heard of many updates on that front in a while, so it's certainly going to be a very interesting situation to watch. There's a lot of teams watching that closely too, including Seattle, the New York Rangers, and others. Rod Brind'Amour is going to be high demand if he doesn't stay with the Hurricanes. But the main player I want to talk about today is defenseman Dougie Hamilton, who's certainly a player who I thought would be at least be in the Norris conversation. I guess later when we see the full ballot results, I would imagine he's probably going to be somewhere between 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in that range. He had a really solid year again. Contract talks between Hamilton and the Hurricanes earlier in the season broke off, and it was believed that they were really nowhere as close. It didn't seem like at that point that Carolina was anywhere near the number that Dougie Hamilton thought he deserved to get paid. Now, he's been a very productive right-shot defenseman. He's still relatively on the younger side of things here, so to me, he's a guy who will get paid handsomely on the open market if he makes it there. Now, I come across an article from a Hurricanes beat writer today talking about their contract status with some of their guys that are UFA and RFA, and that some of these guys, they don't expect to be back. He goes on to mention Dougie Hamilton as one of the names he did not expect to return. He also went on to say Brock McGinn and Jordan Martinook as well are included in that discussion, which I find a little bit surprising. Now, I could see Brock McGinn maybe moving on based on where his production was at. Even Martinook's a pretty important kind of glue guy, a good guy in the room, good leader. Like, I'd be surprised if, he doesn't make a ton of money. He could be a good bottom six forward. So I would be surprised if they didn't make that work somehow, but I guess only time will tell. But when it comes to Hamilton, thankfully in the Hurricanes' sake, they do have a really good blue line. If they do lose Hamilton, it's not like the blue line is going to be completely, downhill. Like they do have Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce under contract for an extended time. Jake Bean really emerged this year. They probably don't like that Jake Gardiner contract. He's one that likely would be, that they'd like to move on from. They did get Yanni Hakanpää that they picked up from the Ducks. He's kind of worked his way into a pretty good role with them. He's a player that I would think they would want to re-sign as well because he needs a new contract. So the blue line would still be pretty decent, but still, Hamilton's a pretty darn good player and a pretty big important piece of their offense especially. So if they lose him, that is going to be a big blow. So if he makes it to free agency, he's going to be one of the bigger names out there for a top right-shot defenseman that is looking for a new home. So it's hard to say exactly where he ends up. To me, there's going to be a lot of interested teams. At this point in time, I'm not really prepared to say, any teams are really the front runner who would be interested because it's early, and I think there would be a ton of interest in this guy. But at this point, it's just interesting to note that local beat writers don't feel he's going to be back based on how negotiations have gone so far. So it could be a big fish here come free agency next month. Now I also want to talk about some trade talk which could involve the Oilers and the Leafs, and we'll start with Edmonton here. Now when it comes to the Oilers, I saw reports today that they may be having their eye on some of the players on the defending Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, of course, we know the Lightning were able to escape really doing a whole lot of reconstruction, we could say, to their roster. They had Nikita Kucherov out all season. We had Steven Stamkos out for a chunk of it on LTIR as well. They had some other contracts too that they were able to put on that to get the exception to go above the cap. And of course, they were able to stay cap compliant with the LTIR usage, not really lose a whole lot of anything off their roster, and are still pretty strong and obviously in a real good spot to possibly, defend their cup and go back to back. It's a real good possibility for them at this point in time. However, you would think that they're not going to be able to get through yet another season. So they're basically a $100 million team on a salary cap of $81 million. I mean, that's way over it. If you look at their projections for next year, they're already $5 million over the cap. Now, obviously, the contracts of guys like Kucherov and Stamkos are the biggest ones on the team. So to put them on LTIR gave them huge cap relief. You're not going to be able to do that 2 years in a row. Now, will they have a player that's making a lot of money have a surgery that's going to put him out all season again? I don't know. We do know Victor Hedman's hurt. I don't know exactly what's wrong with him. Wouldn't be shocking to find out that he would at least be, not ready to start the following season. I can't say for sure what kind of surgery he needs or how long he would be out. But still, even with a player like Hedman, if he was out all season, that's still not going to get things done. They're going to have to make a move. We know they're also going to lose a player to Seattle. That's obviously going to, impact things. They don't have the space. They have, like I said, they're already $5 million over the cap. They don't have a backup goalie. They need, I think they only have 5 defensemen under contract and 9 forwards. So they need another 5 to 6 players minimum under contract, and they're already over. Guys like Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow are pending UFAs. I don't see any way they can bring them back. So they're going to have to look at some of these other guys. Now, obviously, some have no move clauses, which is, I've said this numerous times before, they've given them out way too easily. But you have guys like Yanni Gourde, obviously has a no move, a full no move, which is shocking if you ask me. Good player, but doesn't deserve that in his contract. You got Tyler Johnson, who is now onto a modified. You got Alex Killorn on a modified. Andre Palat is on a full no move. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to get this done, but the reports are that the Oilers have interest in the multiple wingers on the Lightning organization here. Now, clearly, if they could get their hands on a guy like Anthony Cirelli, for example, who's still young and doesn't have those clauses in his contract because he doesn't qualify yet, they might be forced to trade a younger player like Cirelli that they don't really want to, but might need to. I mean, also a lot of it's going to depend on expansion, which we don't know. So obviously, a lot of these guys have a lot of control, a lot of say. I don't know if the ones who have a modified no trade, if the Oilers would be on their list or not, but we know the Oilers are going to be looking to add some different players here in the offseason, especially if they don't bring back Nugent Hopkins. And obviously a team like Tampa has a lot of solid players that are going to likely be available for the right price. And it would make sense that they could be good trade partners. So hard to say exactly how things go, but early word is that they're watching that team very closely and trying to take advantage of their cap issues if they can. Now, lastly here, I want to touch on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, we did talk a bit yesterday about a trade rumor that I came across, and I even disclosed in the video yesterday that I didn't have a lot of faith in this rumor that it was going to amount to anything, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into it. And so far, from what I've been able to find, I can't really find anything of really any substance here. So when I talked about Evander Kane being a potential trade target for the Leafs yesterday, based on what the reports I had seen, I don't really think there's anything to that. And to me, I don't think that it's going to be something we really hear anything more about. I'd be surprised if we do. But the Leafs are going to be linked to a lot of players. And I know for those of you out there saying, well, it seems like everybody's going to the Leafs. But keep in mind that the Leafs are an interesting team to watch this year. You know there's going to be moves. And when you get a guy like Chris Johnson with a lot of credibility going on a podcast saying that he's expecting a blockbuster trade from them to bring in a really significant name. And he went as far as to say that it was going to be a player that he felt like they were targeting was on an American-based team that was out of the playoffs this year and has multiple years of term left on his contract. People are going online, trying to play around here with cap friendly and stuff, looking at all the contracts, trying to narrow down who this could be. And there's a lot of people that are convinced that he was referring to Travis Konecny of the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, we can't say with certainty at all that that's who he was referring to. But we do know this. We know that the Flyers were out of the playoffs. We know they're an American-based team. And he has multiple years left on his contract. So he technically fits the description. And to me, he would fit the description of what they could benefit from. Could they use another forward who could score? Absolutely they could. Now, it also depends on what the asking price is. And you also don't know how things are going to go for what the return price is going to be. Now, when it comes to Konecny, the price tag on him isn't outrageous. Like I said, he's still only in his mid-20s. So I could understand why there would be some interest there. But to me, the Flyers' glaring needs are twofold. One, they need a right shot defenseman, ideally, to play that top pair with Provorov. That's one of their big needs. Secondly, they need another goaltender who can work with Carter Hart. I'm not convinced they're bringing back Brian Elliott or Alex Lyon. I think they need another goalie in that regard. I'm not sure the Leafs can really help them out when it comes to that. Now, of course, Freddie Anderson's a free agent. Maybe he goes there. I don't know what Freddie Anderson does, but that's not going to be involved in any kind of trade because he doesn't have a contract. So, obviously, that's not there. I mean, I know that there's a real possibility Morgan Rielly could be moved, but I don't think Riley's really the defenseman that they're looking for. If he played the right side, maybe. But, I think they have more of their eye on a guy like Seth Jones myself, but that's just my own opinion. So as much as connecting makes sense for the Leafs, I just don't know what the return price could be. I mean, could they be looking at a guy like an Alex Kerfoot? Maybe could they be looking at a guy like a Justin Hall, where they do want right shot defensemen? I mean, obviously Hall's not going to be your top pair, but he can be a top 4 guy, and he's proven that in Toronto over this year and a bit of last year too. So there is some potential there, but I think it could even take more than that. The Leafs would likely have to include a top young forward. I would think either Robertson or Amirov would have to be involved in some capacity. I don't think they're going to let Konecny go, without getting something of substance. I mean, the Leafs already moved their first round pick, so that's not in play. So I'm not sure what the package could look like, but based on what everybody is kind of researching, based on Johnson's comments, that seems to be the general consensus out there on Twitter and different social media platforms, that kind of, piecing together here the cryptic message on who they could be going after. So let me know what your thoughts are on Travis Konecny being a target of the Maple Leafs. Based on what Johnson said, that does make sense, but what would the return package be? Based on what Philly's needs are, I just don't know that the Leafs really have what they want. So obviously there could be more pieces involved. Maybe it's a bigger shakeup. I'm not sure, but I don't really see the glaring fit for both sides. I only see it on one side, and usually when that happens, negotiations don't go well and you don't see a trade happening. So let me know your thoughts on that potential deal down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news from all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.